friends, it's Tracey and Violet from Tea Time with Tracey and Violet. Violet's right here. Right there. I'm sorry I haven't done a video in a week or so, but it's just been kind of a crazy month. February, today's the 28th. And I thought, well, I can do a wrap up. I've been doing pretty good with my reading. I just haven't had a chance to sit down to actually post a video, record a video. And it's funny because I do daily vlogs on my other channel, Nova Scotia Living, if you're wondering. Violet, stop. But to sit down to talk about my books with a house full of youngsters, kind of hard to do. But anyways, I'm having a cup of tea. I'm having some black chai tea. 4 o'clock. Organic, fair trade. Yeah, that's what I'm having. I have it in this little teapot. And I got a couple of teapots, 5 trays, and a teacup the other day from a Facebook yard sale site around where I live. I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada. But this beauty came home with me. Now, it doesn't have anything on the bottom to say where she's from or anything, but up in this cupboard here is where all my fairies and witches live, in my teacups. And she wanted to join the crew, so it's called milk glass, I guess. I don't know, but there's like a little design on it. She's hefty too. She's thick. She's a thick girl. But anyways, I'm just letting this steep for a minute, but I thought I'd talk about the books that I read in February. I kind of went through a reading slump the last half of February. I read the majority of these books the first half of February. The rest of the month, I kind of fell off the turnip truck and didn't read a whole lot. I attempted to, but I was like, oh, no. So, yeah, but I did pretty good, I think. So these are the books that I read at least the first half of February. So I'm not going to go totally into what they're all about because I like to try to do individual things because my channel isn't about I just like to talk about books, the books that I read, and it's not this or that, and ones that I really feel passionate about one way or the other I'll talk about. But one of my goals I had for this year was to finish any series that I started this year, before I start any new series, because there's a million series I want to start. And there's quite a few that I have here physically, but I don't want to start new ones until I finish up a few of the ones that I have going. And this is one of the ones I had going. This is I don't know what the series is actually called, but this is book 3 in a trilogy, The Final Day After. The first book was 1 second after. The second book was 1 year after. And this is The Final Day by William R. Fortion. The first book was about nuclear EMP that hit North America and totally wiped out all electronics, anything with a circuit board, poof. You know, this isn't just lights goes out. This means everything doesn't function anymore. So it was like you're blown back in history when you had no running water or anything and no way of regenerating that just by fixing the power company coming along to fix the whatever they do. But that's what the first book was about. It was about survival, and it was, I would say, the most impactful book of all of them. I like them all, but the first one was the one that really gave you the oh my goodness gracious, Glorioski, like what you gonna do? The second book was about a year after. They're starting to get a little back to normal. Certainly no normal like it was before. There's no electronics or anything like that. And the politics of that. And yeah, there's some hiccups that go around. Young people in the little village or town that they're at are being drafted into the American Army, but there had been no other word from the government since this all happened a year later, and then all of a sudden all the young people of the town are drafted to the country's army, but there was no representative at first. And, the young people or the able-bodied people of this town is what kind of kept this town afloat, keeping out hordes of other people that are coming from big cities and stuff like that. So, of course, it's a big hoopla about that. So that's all I'll say about that. This one is about it all being wrapped up. This one, you get a bigger picture of a government official, and you get the scope of the impact of the EMP and what North America looks like now, and who's in charge and where. And there's a lot of dirty, rotten scoundrels, is all I'll say about that. The first book and this book are probably my favorite of the trilogy. The first book, number 1, this number 2. This middle book was still good, just my least favorite of them all. But it wrapped up nicely. It's not a complete happily ever after. It certainly is not. This is more of a reality check kind of thing. A good ending, but still a heartbreaking ending. But yeah, I would recommend it if you're into, I can't say it's the end of the world, but a trying ordeal that could be reality someday, which is terrifying. So there you go. That one. Okay. I don't really have these all in order. I can't tell you which ones I read first or not. But if you've been watching me for a while, I discovered T.M. Fraser last year and the King series, and I devoured the whole 2, 4, 9 books of the series, like within a couple of weeks. Like I gobbled them up like Cookie Monster, honestly. And then there's branch off books from the King series, which I didn't know about at the time, but since then I've got them all and I've read almost all of them. This is another series I wanted to wrap up. But I don't want to wrap up because I'm really enjoying it still. This is The Dark Light, a King series prequel. A Dark Light of Day. A prequel and then a novella that follows after this book. This, I can't even remember the names now. I should. But this is about a man and a young woman. I can't remember the friggin' names. I'm sorry. For crying out loud. Anyways, a man and a woman. The young woman, she is just at her graduation, like high school graduation, and she gets called into the office. Her caretaker grandmother that she went to live with after her horrible upbringing died in a meth lab, which is totally out of character. Her grandmother was not a meth addict or anything like that. She was completely against that stuff. But so the young woman, I'm sorry, I can't remember her friggin' name. Lila, I think. Is it Lila? I don't know. I'm getting my books all twisted. I should have looked at these. Jake and let me find it. I'll be right back. Oh, Jake and Abby. That's what it is. Jake and Abby. Yes, Abby, she just found out she has nobody left in the world. This book is dark. It's quite dark and a smidge taboo because she is left, when she was growing up, she had a very abusive mother. Extremely, disturbingly, extremely abusive mother. Drugs, physical abuse, sexual abuse, all of that. All of that. So Abby ended up going to live with her grandmother, which she didn't knew she had when she was about 14, I think. I forget now. And she had never met her grandmother. She had never, didn't even know. So, of course, being a 14-year-old or whatever she was, you got some chips on your shoulder. we've all been 14. I had been fostering for years. I know what 14-year-olds are like, and I have 6 of my own children, so I get it. But this little Abby had it a million times worse. So she came to live with this grandmother that loved her no matter what she did. And eventually she learned to warm to her grandmother. And now she's left with nobody in the world. And she's scared she's going to be taken into foster care because she had been in foster care one time before and it was horrible and abusive and all that stuff. So she is pretty much homeless, and they cross paths because she is sleeping in her grandmother's old truck that's in a junkyard that her grandmother could never afford to get fixed. And the son of the person that owns the junkyard is Jake. Jake is a hardcore son of a gun. He's older than her. She's like 17 at the time when they meet. He's like in his mid-20s or something like that. So a bit of an age gap. He's pretty much like a hired assassin, but she doesn't know that. And he's come back because he's going to help, not necessarily his father. He hates his father. His father had a traumatic event, but the family plot, the business, and all that stuff. Anyways, they meet, and it goes from there. I will certainly talk more about this when I talk about this book in great detail, because I'm jabbering on, and I don't want this video to be super long, because I could talk to you all day long. But this comes afterwards. But I'm just saying, very dark. One of the darker of the King series, I thought. Another one of the King spin-off series is Up in Smoke. Well, actually, I should talk about this one. I read these out of order, not knowing. You read this before you read this. But, I mean, you don't have to. But, okay, we'll talk about Rage. Rage is this lady right here. Yeah, she had, again, a rough, well, no, not a rough upbringing. She was just almost like she was a psychopath when she was younger. Or is it psychopath or sociopath that don't feel? I forget, but anyway, she had 2 loving parents, immigrant parents, I forget from where. And she was struggling in school. Not that she wasn't smart, but she was a roughneck and would get in fights and things like that. When she was about 16, there's more to the story than that. Stop licking my slipper. She was about 16, I think. And she was out in the woods for some reason. She had almost a panic attack. I think it was her 16th birthday. She comes home and it was a surprise party with kids from school, but her parents didn't realize she doesn't have any friends at school, but they invited her over, all these people over. So she gets there and is about to have some sort of a panic attack and bolts, goes out into the woods, and she stumbles across these 2 big old biker men about to kill somebody. So she gets tangled up in the mix and asks if she could be the one to shoot this person. And one of the biker men is Smoke. So that's these 2. He's not the man for her in here. Now, fast forward a bit. Rage is kind of like a hired gun herself. Smoke kind of groomed her because she wanted to be. Like she was all... Oh, just a minute. Here comes my husband. Oh, right. Yes. So Rage, in her young adult life, like in her 20s, she is so efficient at what she does. She can infiltrate and go in disguise. She looks like a little teenager, pink frilly, whatever. She always has wacky t-shirts and things like that. Anyways, she gets a request to watch this guy. And he is drafted to be in the NHL, like the hockey. well, he's on the farm team to be scouted, but turns out he got into a fight. He's quite a brawler. Got into a fight and he has a knee injury. So she goes in disguising as a caretaker, and she doesn't fall for anybody or anything like that. But for some reason, he can make her feel, and they both have secrets because he doesn't realize what she is. And there's a twist because she doesn't realize what he is. He's more than just a hockey player. So that's all I'll say about that. But very spicy, very good. Really enjoyed it. Now, Up in Smoke, he makes appearances in that book, of course, but he has his own story going on. And he is like the handler for somebody like Rage. But he gets jobs, like people will contact him for jobs, and he will, contact Rage or whoever to go out and do these things. There's one big guy, I forget now, contacted Smoke to follow up on somebody that's been stealing this guy's money, like real millions. Somebody hacked in to this giant place and stole all this money that's been hurting families. I'll get more into that, but he goes to find who this is, doesn't find the guy, finds his daughter, steals his daughter, and was going to hold her for ransom, but nobody can seem to locate her father anywheres, and she's not saying anything. And yeah, he's a big baddie, but he's kind of a teddy bear too, but he's a baddie. He is a baddie. And he has a twisted tale to tell, for sure. And again, she has her own twists in this story too, but really enjoyed it. All of this world, this whole King series world, there's overlapping characters, glimpses, just daily paths cross sometimes. And anyways, I just love it. I can't sing its praises enough. I have 2 more books in this series, I believe, to read. I have them. I could have read them this month. I really could have, but I was like, no, I'll save the last 2 for next month, and that's what I plan on doing. Now, I have videos out about these. I read Dead Man Walking by Giana Darling and Inked in Lies by Giana Darling. Her books are fairly chunky. Like, they're chunky, but they're easy to read. I do have a video on talking about these, so I'll put it down below, but basically it's in the Fallen Man series. This is book 6 and this is book 7, or book 5 and book 6, I forget now. This is a series I completed in full until the next book comes out, but I read all the books, I have all the books, and when the next book comes out, I'll get it. I really enjoy this series. She's a Canadian author too, so thumbs up for that one. But yeah, a bit dark, certainly not the darkest I've read, but yeah, dirty cops, drugs, killing, sex trafficking, physical, mental, sexual assault in some cases. It's dabbled throughout that whole series, so just heads up about that, and I'll put the link to that video down below. So the last video I posted was about these 2 books, Church and Preach by Stylo Fantome. This is certainly darker than those 2, I find, in my book anyways. I have a video on this too. If you want to dabble with some dark romance, this is a bit more on the heavier side, I think, the psychological side. But basically, he has a fascination with killing and plotting and twisting and getting the perfect murder. She does a lot of self-harm and had a horrible upbringing, but she becomes absolutely obsessed with him, Church, and she would do anything. So he wants to kill, she would die for him. She would do anything for him. So yeah, that's all I'll say about that. I will put the video to this down below too. Highly recommend if you are into dark, deep dark. But if you're not, don't start with this one. I wouldn't. But yeah. And then last but not least, I read a Clyde Barker book, The Great and Secret Show. I didn't realize this is a series. There's 2 books in the series so far. I guess the third one, there's supposed to be a third one, but he hasn't written it in 20 years, so it probably isn't going to start. So I didn't mean to start a series, but then I find out there's a book 2, Everville, and I've ordered it secondhand. So I will read it, but I started a series unknowingly. But this is a horror fantasy, and the only other Clyde Barker book I read was like when I was a teenager, called The Thieves of Always, and I forget it. I remember liking it, but I forget it. Didn't even realize Clyde Barker wrote it until I found this, and I was looking up his other books. I'm like, oh, I've read that book. I can't remember it, but anyways, this is a horror fantasy, and I've never read a horror fantasy, I don't think. This is multi-level point of views. I really enjoyed it, but it's a lot to digest. It's easy to read if you have the time to read it, but this is, it's kind of like about good and evil. It's hard to explain. I have to actually, before I do a video on this, I need to sit down and make notes about it, because there's so many different levels to this. Basically, there is about 2 people, the Jaff and Fletcher. I'm really, really, really dumbing down this. Elevate themselves, not to a godlike position, but into a, I don't know how to say it, a different kind of being, not specifically a human being, almost like a spirit sort of thing. And I can't do it. So simple. Yeah, there's murder, there's assault in this, but basically between these 2, they end up siring children. These 4 teenagers go into this man-made or natural lake due to a flood. There's some kind of hole in the bottom of it. The girls go in swimming, they come out pregnant, and the story is about the children that these girls have, and it's totally whackers crackers. I recommend it, but it's messed up. It's messed up in the sense, but yeah, I'll have to make notes and explain it better. But Clyde Barker, The Great and Secret Show, and I will read Everville when it comes at some point, but I have other books. So altogether, I read 10 books, not too shabby, and I do plan on filling up my teacup, but finishing the T.M. Fraser series in March. What's another one? There's a couple other series I want to wrap up this month coming, and then I can start working on some other things. I have some book hauls I need to do. Like, it's embarrassing. I have no self-control, but yeah. So anyways, I'm just going to say thanks for joining me today. I will try to get some more videos out when I get a chance, but at least I'm using these videos not just to talk to you guys, but it gives me a chance to track what I am reading, and I can keep, I think last month I read 12 books. This month I read 10, but there was a few good chunkers in here, so. Anyways, I'm going to say peace, love, and happiness today and every single day. Please like, share, and subscribe if you so choose, but if not, that's okay too. I still love ya. I still want all the happiness in the world for each and every one of you out there. I certainly do. I really, really honest and truly do. Yes, I do. So, okay, guys. Well, Violet says bye too. She's there. She's there. So, with that, I'm going to say have a good night or have a good morning. And I might see you tomorrow. Bye. Bloop.